Superman issue 14, legacy number 857. Joshua Williamson writing with Rafa Sandoval and Miguel Madoncha on the art. So yeah, part 4, House of Brainiac. Yeah, we were a bit more down the last issue. It felt like it introduced some concepts and then just pissed them away, which is kind of typical for Williamson and halfway through his stories at this point, sadly. This issue continues this whole Lobo's now trying to take Superman in with Kratos and his buddies, and they basically succeed. I don't really have much to say about this fight scene. Obviously, the art's solid enough.
Yeah, to an extent that I feel like I don't have much to say about this issue because this issue has not much to say.
I mean, that's somewhat fair. There's like a scene with Brainiac and Lena talking, and Brainiac's just kind of going on about his master plan. Supergirl's with Lex. She has kind of like a...
They have about 3 pages together in the entire issue, and that's it.
That's it, yeah. Again, it felt like, oh, we're setting up an interesting dynamic with these two, but instead, we're barely... Now, there could be more next issue, of course, that's possible, but given Williamson's pacing and the way that he just kind of rushes through ideas the way he does, I just don't expect that to be the case. She does have kind of a badass moment where she kind of like... She almost does like the Hulk thing, where she sort of like digs her hand into the side of the building to like sort of slow down or descent and sort of saves Luthor. I was like, okay, that's a fun little bit. But I mean, ultimately, there's not much more to it than that. And Brainiac's son shows up, right? That's who this is? I'm remembering correctly?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, Vrildrox, a name I would never have remembered, so I'm glad they said it.
yeah. It's just, he's there, and so they're all together now, so that'll be next issue. We can probably spend half the issue with them.
After that, maybe 3 pages.
Yeah, it should be half the issue with them, but the other side of the plot feels primed more for the 16-page fight scene. So
yeah, I feel really underwhelmed in the sense that, like, getting into issue 3, I thought, okay, our 2 plots going forward is Superman trying to get to Brainiac's ship with Lobo and the super family being shrunken down, and like those 2 things going to progress side by side. That seems like a fun couple of plots. And then by the end of the last issue, they kind of like completely moved one on to a new thing instead, and it's like, okay, fine, we're there now. But the Superman Lobo stuff this issue, it just kind of felt like we had a big fight scene, but then it was just very quickly, oh, they've got him now, and they're just going to take him to Brainiac's ship.
It feels like the only reason for that whole diversion at all was to bring in all the rest of the, Cezannians.
Yeah.
That's it.
It just felt really unsatisfying as a plot point. Like, it's kind of the big thing. Like, it feels... I almost feel weird critiquing, like, plot points, because it's like, ultimately, you have a plot idea, and then it's the writer's job to make that plot work. But with Williamson specifically, and I've definitely encountered with other writers and other mediums and stuff, but, like, by and large, I always feel really weird when I'm like, every choice he makes as a writer about where to go next just annoys me.
Yeah, like, okay, so all Kratos and all his buddies, we introduced them at the end of, like, towards the back half of last issue. They have a big fight here, and now they're all dead.
Yep.
Why did we have all of them? What was the point? And you can say, oh, what purpose did this serve? And you can say, oh, things don't need to serve a purpose; they can just be enjoyable.
Well, no, I think it does serve a purpose, and to play devil's advocate, I think there's a purpose here, and I don't necessarily have a problem if we build up to their purpose being, oh, they're here to sell the threat of the new Brainiac Queen, right? The idea is that she's so powerful, she's got the tech built into her that Lobo used to kill all the other Zarnians. Just give me a second, right? That's all fine and well. However, not only does it feel like their entire plot so far was very minuscule compared to what it should have been to sell this moment, the bigger problem I had with this scene is that Brainiac Queen, when she wakes up after draining like all the power from all the other supers and whatnot, right? I thought, okay, this is interesting. She's got kind of a sleek, kind of like almost like, it's kind of like a Cell from Species, but in robot form, right? Kind of like a H.R. Geiger robot kind of design. I'm like, that's kind of interesting, kind of sleek and deadly. I get it.
Yeah.
Almost immediately, she morphs into the most over-designed, big, spiky, hulky-looking piece of shit I've ever seen. Like, I'm like, you just made this thing... Brainiac Queen to me is just a million times less interesting. All I could focus on in this page where she's killing all the Zarnians was how shit she looks.
Yeah, I like her a bit more on the last page, the full page like side shot.
Sure.
Kind of insecty.
A bit gargoyle as well, I'd say, the way she's sort of crouching over.
Yeah. Yeah, but and okay, just to go back a little bit, if the plot point of all the Zarnians is to sell her threat, which I guess technically they do achieve, I kind of hate that because we went from Lobo being the last of his kind, he thought he was the last one, to reintroducing a whole bunch of these other people, and we're just going to kill them off the next issue just because, we're just showing you how big a threat this thing is.
Yeah, city full. Yeah, it should be a waste. It should be a bigger deal that there's a whole city of Zarnians still out there, and killing them off this. I agree. Like, killing them off this quickly just makes the whole thing feel like a cheap ploy to like sell this moment. And like,
I'd like to say, it's fine. The Zarnians, they're all going to come back next issue, and but the whole point here was Brainiac being like, but you showed me how to kill them. So in theory, these are all actually dead. They're dead, right?
Should be dead. I'll be annoyed if they aren't dead based on what they said in this issue.
It's kind of a lose-lose, right? Either they're all dead and it was a waste, or they're not all dead and they're just completely just throwing his own rules out the window.
Here's the thing, for things to make an impact, as much as I was playing devil's advocate, because in theory I get what this is, it's to sell the threat of this new enemy, right? Which I do think the enemy's less interesting now that she's morphed into this big hulking spiky monster. Because now it just feels like Brainiac Doomsday or something. But to sell the threat, the characters themselves can't just be strong, powerful characters in terms of superpowers or in terms of being unkillable. Like, it would mean nothing if you introduce a new Terminator and then immediately kill them off by some bigger bad to show how big or bad this new Terminator or this new threat is, if it wasn't a Terminator that had felt scary for the rest of the movie, right? If you have a Terminator come in and kill Arnold at the end of T1, it'll mean a lot because you spend that whole movie treating him like he's a big deal, like he's the big threat, like he's unstoppable. So someone else coming in and killing him, or alternatively, if you really cared about the character in an emotional sort of dramatic sense, that would also add to like it mattering that they get killed. But if you introduce like a big bad new Terminator and the next scene they get killed off because, we're already leveling up to the next thing, well, the previous thing was never built up to actually feel like it mattered to the audience. So having this entire city full of Zarnians is okay, that's fine and all, but maybe like let's explore this idea of what this means for the rest of the universe if there's an entire city of Zarnians going around doing whatever they want. Yeah, I don't know.
Like, we're supposed to get this sell of the threat of them just based off of, one, pre-existing knowledge of Lobo, and two, the fact that all of them combined took out Superman. But I say took out, I mean, captured. But also, it took all of them to get Superman, right? Not just one of them. Like, if it was just one of them managed to beat Superman one-on-one, that's it, job done, you'd sell that one as a threat, maybe. Yeah. But, yeah, it just does not work for me here at all.
Yeah, and this wasn't like, because last issue I was really disappointed because I really liked the concept of like the Honey I Shrunk the Kids stuff on the Brainiac ship and thought that would make for, I thought that was going to be like the rest of their plot for the story. That was like what he'd been building up to. Instead, it was over by the end of that issue. I was disappointed because I liked the idea of that story and it felt like he flubbed something. Here, it's not quite the same because it's not like I was super invested in the Zarni and stuff, but everywhere it goes, it felt more generic by the end, right? Whatever it felt like, maybe I'll pull out something interesting here with this side of it. Like there was potential, even if I wasn't super enthusiastic about it. But by the end, when I've just got this big hulky monster that's unstoppable and killing machine, I'm like, okay, so it's just a big comic book villain now. It's like nothing about her now. Like when they were building up to her being like Brainiac's Bride of Frankenstein, I'm like, okay, we're getting kind of a Borg Queen kind of thing. Like they could do something interesting with that. Maybe she's like a pure form of AI or something that's going to go all Skynet on everyone or whatever. Admittedly, it'd be a bit weird just after having Failsafe and Batman to go down kind of that path, but that's not that wouldn't be this book's fault if just because that exists. But instead, it's just that it's a big hulking thing that kills people. That's all it is.
More power.
Yeah, it's the power creep. It's just that we just keep making things more powerful rather than making them more nuanced or more interesting or giving them more intriguing motivations or whatever. It's just no, it's bigger and it's stronger. And
And
That's
it's
it.
somehow making Brainiac less interesting as well by default.
Yes, he's excited about his new bride, but it's like, yeah, Brainiac was more interesting without her.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they'll do something interesting with the Queen next issue.
Do you have
That'll...
any faith in Williamson to actually do that at this point?
I don't. I'm just playing the devil's advocate of it. It's possible they could add depth to this character in the remaining issues. But, you know, this is issue 4 of 6 out of the main story, and that's not a lot of time left to build up the stakes finally and then resolve it. I feel like this should have been the end of Act 1 rather than the end of Act 2, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because it feels like next issue, a large part of it's just going to be Brainiac Queen fighting Superman, maybe, if he gets, like he'll get free, presumably.
Presumably, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's so sad because I actually quite liked the first 2 issues of this story, but I knew that Williamson was probably going to like underwhelm me the more it went on.
It was going to Williamson it.
Yeah, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And here we are. The art is typically pretty good, though. Obviously, we got the 2 artists here, which, you know, I don't think it's too bad in this issue as far as switching goes.
No, I think they're both fine.
Yeah.
Like, I think the best stuff in the art was like the first couple of pages, the big 2-page splashes with the Lobo versus Superman. I think is where the art looked best. I don't think anything else in the issue matched up to that, which is a bit unfortunate.
I like the moodiness of a couple of moments later on, where it feels a little bit darker.
I should point out, none of the rest of it looks bad. Like at no point does this book look bad. But it's one of those things where it's always a shame where the high point of your art is right at the start. It feels like, the rest of the issues are a little bit all downhill, even when it's still a pretty good standard.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I don't really have much else to say on this, to be honest.
Nah, I don't. Like I said, it's a very, very shallow issue.
All right. What are you giving Superman 14?
Probably a 4. I think it's not great.
Yeah, art's mostly pretty good. I think I'll go a nudge above and say 5, but yeah, hardly anything I'm raving about from the rooftops. So Matt's thoughts on Superman. He's a bit more positive by the sounds of it. Another solid issue for the mini event story. Like the continued split in art between Madoncha and Sandoval, pretty much everything from Action last week applies here. The Brainiac Queen reveal felt a bit like something from Alien, but through Williams' lens. So a bit underwhelming, haha. I like the fight between Kark and Lobo and how it resolved with Lobo looking like a fool and falling right into the plan. Kara being the exposition engine is nice. That's a weird sentence. I don't know if I'd ever say someone being an exposition engine is a good thing, but yeah, okay.
Necessary, but not good.
With how she's recognizing the Brainiac plot as it's happening, stuff like the pointing of no justice and who Avril is. The major drawback that I'm not clear on how the Alien Queen is going to help Brainiac from dying or how exactly the Kryptonians are powering everything. But hey, it's almost over. There's a positive spin, if I ever heard it. He gave it an 8 out of 10.
Of course he did.
Yeah, okay.